She made a song.
She made a couple of songs. We'll probably end up talking about that. It's really.
Oh, this is getting bad. I didn't know.
Well, the reason she blew up is because she had made YouTube songs 8-9 years ago, and then they got millions of views, and then that led to.
So it wasn't Crazy Rich Asians.
That the stuff that she did before that
led
to
Crazy
YouTube
Rich
stuff
Asians.
led to Crazy Rich Asians and some of the other stuff. So
can we call her Laura? By the way,
Nora,
excuse me. Let's call her by her government.
It's like Nora Lum or something like that.
Yeah, let's
Lum,
do that.
Lum.
Let's start calling her by her
actress. She is an actress. I'll give her that. Comedian, rapper, Awkwafina. It has recently come under fire because of her Blaccent and her usage of AAVE.
Her usage of what?
AAVE is African American Vernacular English, also known as Ebonics, also known as, talking black, black slang. But then she also issued an apology recently, which some also take huge issue with for reasons we will get into. But before we get into Awkwafina, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on non-blacks specifically using AAVE, using, or before we even get into that, what's your thoughts on what a Blaccent is? Because it's, to me, it's not just using the slang. It's also kind of mannerisms, and as we refer to a Blaccent, it's almost kind of like an offensive caricature of what you think
black people are. Black people
speak, or how black people speak, and like I said, their mannerisms and things of that nature. So, what's your thoughts on what an actual Blaccent is?
For me, I realize that intersectionality is a thing. So that I think it is a crutch for dealing with people's individual issues and people's individual plights and people's individual experiences. I think it's easier to lump everybody together behind the guise of intersexuality, because you don't have to actually deal with the problems that those individual groups face and why they're different, and why certain people in this world should have to change the way that they go about things. But that's not what that was for. I think that it becomes a problem when that's not natural to you, right? It becomes a problem when, you're saying and doing things that are not your natural way of speaking. I don't think anybody really had a problem with old girl until they found out that that's not how she actually talks. I don't think anyone had a problem with Awkwafina when they thought that was just her name, and her real name is Nora. Why would an Asian lady named Nora call herself Awkwafina and use a Blaccent? Now, if you're trying to tell me that you're an avid fan of hip hop, and that you learned how to speak watching African American actors and athletes and rappers and stuff like that, that's one thing. But then again, how did you then develop that very proper, using all the correct punctuations, pronunciations, you're enunciating correctly? Where did that come from? I would assume that you learned how to speak English properly with proper diction and proper pronunciation before you started indulging in the various vernaculars or different type of dialects that we have here in America. Number one, speaking black is not a thing.
Correct.
It's not a thing because all black people do not sound or speak the same way.
Just like I would also argue that talking white is not a thing either.
No, it's not. It's not. So that's number one. So this idea that you gathered your accent by watching stuff on TV or in media, well, you will have been getting all different types of things that are part of a whole of black people. You're not getting an overlapping like black language lesson by watching fucking TV.
Unless she was literally 24/7 watching the CW.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no way to learn to speak black because that's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not real. And the fact that I can carve out that part of you so definitely means that it's purposeful.
So I got a question as it pertains to like cultural appropriation, which this definitely falls under the category
Absolutely.
of, versus like appreciation of the culture. Because like,
could you imagine if I did this podcast in the Komodo every week and didn't know anything about it?
That's my point though, is that there's very obviously cultural appropriation, which would have been you coming in and wearing a kimono and maybe even speaking in a stereotypical Asian voice.
And you know what? So I'm watching E-Man's live, and he was talking about this on Friday, right? And he was like, yeah, but what if I came on he said the same thing you said. What if I came on here and I did a stereotypical Asian accent? I'm like, boy, you better than me, fam. You are better than me. Because why is it that she's allowed to go on every interview and every movie she's been on and do that shit like it's natural and it's fine and it's okay? But if I ever came out here trying to talk like I was Jackie Chan, I would get canceled off this app. Now, wouldn't I?
You are getting into a question that I will also ask here in a second. But like, what's your thoughts on like that versus appreciation of the culture? Because very well, if you came in here wearing a kimono and you were well versed in, Japanese culture, or, you understood it, you appreciated it. Like, is there a certain point where a person can appreciate black culture enough to maybe at least get away with using AAVE? Or is there ever like really a place for a Blaccent? Like, what's the line as it pertains to cultural appropriation versus
let me ask you
appreciation?
Something. You love sports, right? You enjoy watching football and basketball. You appreciate it. You study the game. You know a lot about it. You're able to converse about it, right? Like, it's a part of your life. It's something that you appreciate, right? Mm-hmm. Under what circumstances would you turn off your love for sport? Under what conditions would you not just not be so enthusiastic about it, but actively change your attitude towards it? Completely flip your stance on it. Give a completely different outlook on how you view sports. Under what circumstances would you do that? And if you did, because I'm going to let you answer, and if you did, could you say that you truly loved that thing or appreciated it?
I will answer that with this. Specifically, there is one instance I can think of where my love of sports has come into conflict with my personal views and beliefs.
I see where you're going with this. It's not the NFL. I'm saying,
but that's to answer your question. That's specifically.
I'm saying not because the NFL being racist doesn't make you hate football, right? Like, you still love the sport of football. You just realize that the NFL is a racist institution.
Right.
But that doesn't change your attitude towards football. So the reason why I asked you that is because if you truly appreciated black culture and you have an affinity for it, you wouldn't turn it on and off. It wouldn't be a thing of like, oh, it's now beneficial for me to have a more proper way of speaking and pronunciate all my words properly and not use slang, because the people that do that, Nora, speak that way because they don't know any other way. You know better. You know how you truly use your words, how you truly speak, right? There are people that speak a certain way because that's the way that they learned, because that's where they grew up. That's how everyone around them speaks. That is not your reality. And also, you find it convenient to turn it off when you're speaking elsewhere. You're in the orbit of black people, we get Awkwafina. You're in the orbit of white people, we get Nora.
So going into my last, I guess, question, why do you feel like non-blacks use AAVE, use
because
the
it's
Blaccent?
Popular. It's popular. It's just like anything else that go on in this country, man. And I really wish we could start to understand that, because there's a lot of power in that, right? It doesn't matter about how you speak, how you dress, the clubs that you go to, the music that's being played, what you eat, what you drink. We drive it. We do it, they follow. I'm not trying to be superior in the way that I'm not trying to it's not about that. I'm just saying, we create the trends. We do. There is not a single thing that's popular in the United States right now that black people did not perpetuate. Not the clothes, not the shoes, not the way that you're shaping your bodies, darkening your skin, texturizing your hair.
We probably should at some point have a conversation about blackfishing as well. It seems to fall under the exact same category.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man, like all of the trends that happen in this country, man, you just take the pieces away, you will eventually find a black person at the root of it. So yeah, they will talk about Ebonics or AAAV, is AAV?
AAVE.
AAVE. And they'll talk down on it because it's lesser, right? And it's not proper, and it's not the way that you should speak. But then when they're trying to be cool or hip, who do they speak like? It's like they acknowledge that they want to be separated from it just enough to where if it doesn't suit them for some reason, or if it embarrasses them in some reason, they can take it off. But when it's beneficial to them and they need to fit in, or they need to win over a crowd, or just be popular in general, let me put it to you like this. When someone's trying to be cool with you, do they tell white dad jokes? Even if they are the corniest of corny, what are they trying to do? They give you a Blaccent.
Oh, they act black.
They don't give you a tropey Asian accent. Yeah. They don't give you a tropey Middle Eastern accent. But they give you a tropey African American dialect, something that they saw on Yo MTV Raps 20 years ago.
Yeah. The whole thing is nuts to me just because, like, literally everybody seems to
do it.
Want to do it, but then that behavior is also not accepted in professional environments, or like, just like in certain areas, is it like they just won't accept acting like that at all. Like if I see it, for example, if I see a kid walking down the street with his phone playing music out loud, or maybe his headphones are a little too loud, like people look at that.
Well, you got to think about who it is that's doing it. Like the Awkwafina is not an old woman. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She's of a younger generation. The kids will always grow up wanting and longing until they become adults, and they become, white adults.
Yeah.
You don't do the things that you deem to be immature or lesser or demeaning.
So
you don't do those things
acting
anymore.
Black would be seen as acting immature.
Absolutely. And it's only cool to act that way when you're young and dumb. Well, when you're white.
1,000%. I agree with that.
It's exactly the path that we watched with Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber got validated in the community because of Usher. He ran around. He was doing features with all the hip hop guys. He tatted to the brim.
Lil Twist and
you know what I'm saying? Doing drugs, drinking, doing whatever he want. Then people stopped messing with him. The money people stopped messing with Justin Bieber. He was bad. He was no longer a marketable guy. He was messing with his white man marketability.
Yeah.
And they told him to clean up his image. So he joined a Scientology church, and he stopped fucking with hip hop people.
He apologized via song and then just stopped doing that shit.
Stop fucking with rappers. Just like that. And now Justin is a wholesome white boy, just like any other wholesome white boy in America. There are a lot of Asian people who have connections to the black community through hip hop, right? Hip hop is a big thing in China and Japan, right? Like that's where they make Nikes. Most of the shit that we wear on our feet over here is made in their countries.
See, is she herself Japanese? No, she's Chinese.
Okay.
Well, because I was going to say, I know in Japan, I shouldn't even make that. In Japan, they have a huge actual appreciation for hip hop, or a certain subsection of Japanese people have an actual appreciation for hip hop. But I don't know anything about Chinese, so I guess that doesn't really work as much. But
I mean, either way, I feel like they still have. I mean, they have their own brand of hip hop, right? Like they have their own genre, their own offshoot from American hip hop. My thing is that I don't have a problem with that. We don't own any genre of music. We don't own any type of style. We don't own it, but appreciate it, right? When I go and we go get certain Asian foods, we go get pho, we go get ramen, we go get whatever it is. It's like, or we go watch Asian movies. Some of the best shit I've been watching on Netflix is Korean television right now, right? The Into the Sea, Squid Game, amazing. But like, I don't have to appropriate that to appreciate it. Any of that stuff. I don't have to take it and try to recreate it as if I did it myself, as if it's mine now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when she's giving her apology about her Blaccent, it's very like, well, this is who I am, and I'm always open for have a conversation about it, and if I pissed you off, I'm sorry, but
well, also,
it's like that, but it's not who you are, because you can turn it off, right? Unless you got two people living inside of you, that's not who you are.
But also with her apology, I don't think she ever actually apologized.
She said, "I'm sorry if I fell short," or some shit like that.
But that's saying,
but that's not,
I'm sorry for how you felt.
Exactly,
but I'm not sorry for what it is that I actually did, which is not apologizing.
And not to mention that in every role that I've seen you in, at least every major role, Crazy Rich Asians and Shang-Chi, you were Blaccenting. So now you making millions of dollars copying black people.
Got a whole Comedy Central show,
fam,
where that's like the premise.
Fam. Nick Cannon said that Jews might have been black, and he got suspended. Like the original Jews might have been black. The original Jews that come from a part of the world where people are brown, and he got suspended.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, but here we are, watching this woman make a caricature of black women, of black people, really.
Yep.
To the tune of millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. Quite a few millions of dollars. Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Come on.
Especially knowing that, you wouldn't give an obvious black woman those millions of dollars for just being her.
For being herself. Right? No, like if you wanted a black woman, there are plenty of black women, but it's cool. When non-black people have Blaccent, it's cool. It's fresh, it's inclusive, it's progressive.
It's much more
intersectionality.
It's much more marketable because we can't sell a black person being themselves. Black. We have to sell an Asian person because that Asian person is much more marketable and easier to deal with than the black woman that we would put in that same position.
And for somebody to claim that they understand, about, what it is that we're pressing you about and wanting to have conversations, she just doesn't seem to get what it is that she did wrong.
Yeah. The apology was nowhere near sufficient. Hopefully, I don't know about her specifically, but hopefully some people can come to learn something from this. Hopefully this sways anybody else from dealing with that same situation. This Black History Month has been nuts, by the way, but I'm sure we'll talk about that soon as well.
Give us your thoughts about Awkwafina in the comments below. What do you think about her Blaccent? Is it just part of who she is, or is she tripping? Give us your thoughts.
And make sure you check out our podcast clips playlist. We like to talk about things like this quite a bit, so I'm sure we have plenty of different takes on just current event news and things like that. And make sure you subscribe because, like I said, we like to talk about this all the time. So check us out.